Okay, good evening, everyone. June 5th, 2023, we have a closed session starting shortly and a 7 p.m. open session. Notice of regular meeting location, Oxford Prep office.
You gotta turn it off. Get started.
Okay. Meeting location, Oxford Prep Academy, Central Office 81 Columbia Suite 101, Elizabeth, California 92656. We also have teleconference location and our Saddleback Valley campus 22882. Thank you. And then also at our Oxford Prep Academy, South Orange County campus 23000, via Santa Maria, Michigan, California 92691. Public comment opportunities. Members of the public may make comments at regular meetings of the Board of Directors regarding closed session items, agenda items, and non-agenda items. Comments may be made in person or via Zoom teleconference. Please turn in a comment card to the Board Secretary, Amy Smith. Requests for comments may also be submitted via electronic submission or email. Submissions must be received prior to the start of the applicable community input time. If members of the public wish to email comments to be read during the meeting, please email them to akernan@opaschools.org by 7 p.m. on June 5th, 2023. Public comments, including email comments, should be limited to 3 minutes per comment, with up to 20 minutes of public comment per topic on the agenda. Reasonable accommodation. With at least 48 hours notice, any individual with disability who requires reasonable accommodation to participate in a Board of Directors meeting may request assistance at Lena, LPAIVA@opaschools.org or at 949-600-9050. Video and audio records of the meeting will be posted on the OPA website approximately 24 to 48 hours after the meeting. Public may also attend the board meeting in person or via the following Zoom webinar. Meeting ID 320-324-6235. Call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Yes. The roll call. Member Agarwal.
Present.
Member Jackson's not here yet. Member Kugu is here. Member Smith.
Present.
And Member Chavez.
Present.
Okay, we've got item number C. Approval of the agenda for the regular meeting of the Oxford Prep Academy Board of Directors on June 5th, 2023. It is recommended the Board of Directors approve the agenda for the regular meeting of the Oxford Prep Academy Board of Directors on June 5th, 2023. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion.
Thank you, Member Agarwal. I'll second it. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, we go to item number 2, community input on closed session agenda items. Members of the public may comment on items listed on the closed session agenda only. I'll read out the agenda topics for discussion and possible action. Item number 8, conference with real property negotiators, Government Code 54956.8. The negotiators are Amy Kernan and David Barley from OPA. This is regarding the OPA middle school site, and we're negotiating with Saddleback Valley USD regarding the middle school facility. Item number B, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Government Code 54956.9, D1. The two cases, named 2022-02 and 2022-03. And we'll have a presentation from Lisa Kaur, attorney, YMC, and Patricia Lucra, director, student services and accountability. And then item number C, public employee performance evaluation, executive director, Government Code 54957. Are there any community input on closed session agenda items?
There is not.
Thank you, Dr. Kunan. Then we will go into closed session and we'll be back around 7 for open session. Good?
All right, I think you're good.
Okay, awesome. So we're reconvening to open session at 7:04 p.m. There was no action taken on item number A. Item number B, the board voted to authorize our executive director to settle the two cases, 2022-02 and 2022-03. Item number C, we did not discuss. We will reconvene to close session after we finish our open session. Okay, let's do a flag salute. Trish, do you want to help us?
Sure. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. But item number 6, we have to have public hearings for our LCAP. So item number 8, 2023-2024 proposed local control and accountability plan for the Saddleback Valley East campus, the South Lawrence County campus, and our middle school campus. It's recommended the board president open the public hearing, determine if members of the public have submitted requests to speak on the item. After hearing any speakers, formally close the public hearing. We'll open the public hearing at 7:05 p.m. Do we have any members of the public who want to speak on this item?
We do. Let me just check that real quick. We do not.
Okay, then I will close the public hearing at 7:05 p.m. We got item number B, 2023-2024 proposed annual budget for Saddleback Valley campus, South Lawrence County and middle school. It's recommended the board president open the public hearing, determine if members of the public have submitted requests to speak on the item, and after hearing any speakers, formally close the public hearing. So we will open the public hearing at 7:06 p.m.
We do not have any speakers.
Okay, then we will close it also at 7:06 p.m. We will go to item number 7, community input on agenda items. The public may comment on items listed on the agenda, including the consent calendar, presentation, discussion, committee, and action items. Do we have any community input on agenda items?
We do not.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Knapp. Item number 8, we go to items for consent. We can do everything in one shot, right? There's no, okay. Item number 8, minutes from the regular meeting of the OPA Board of Directors on May 23rd, 2023. Approved memorandum of understanding with University of Nevada, Reno for student teaching assignment, and item number C, personnel report, as listed in the table. It recommended the Board of Directors approve consent items A through C. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve consent items A through C.
Thank you, Member Childs. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, thank you, Member Smith. Any discussion?
We have a middle school dean. Just gonna be announced.
Okay, excellent. If there's no other discussion, then I'll take a roll call vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so item number 9, items for presentation. We'll start with middle school update, Mr. Brickley.
Mr. Berkeley and company.
Speaking of deans.
Try to remember if it works.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I have some exciting news. I'm going to go out of sequence a little bit. I would like to introduce to you our brand new dean for the middle school. This is Angie White, and she's joining us coming from Anaheim Union High School District to wonderful OPA. We're very excited.
Nice to meet you. Thank you guys for having me. Very excited to be starting here with you.
Congratulations.
We didn't even cheer for John, so we cheered.
I was an unknown quantity. Our teaching staff is pretty much secured. We are awaiting word on one more, probably after tonight, I'm guessing. I don't want to read through all these names to you, but I wanted to put them up there so you can see who's joining us. And I've said it before, I'm very excited to have this team coming together. And we actually took a picture. I'll be posting it on the website. I didn't put it in this, but took a picture together when we were over at SB on Friday.
Nice.
And it's going to be great. So,
It's.
it's beeping. There we go. We also have most of our support staff together, and here they are. And these I can read to you. I won't read my own name, but Auralia, as you know, is our office manager, and Deirdre Didion is our ELD TOSA. We have Christina Kavovets, who's our new registrar, and she came today and is already working with Auralia to get things rolling. Sandy Cochin is our counselor. AJ McAllister will be coming over as our office assistant. Richard Reed will be one ed specialist, and Krista Stepanian will be the other. And we have Sarah Tano as our psychologist, and of course, Angie is our dean of students. And we are still waiting to determine who our health tech will be, and also who our custodian.
Some of these are shared positions, right, Mr. Bickler?
Yes.
So for tech support, for example, that'd be a shared position, or you guys can hire one?
Support, they would have their own.
Okay.
We currently have three guys in our tech
Yeah.
department, and so they would be each at a different site
Okay,
right
so you
now.
will assign them,
Right
they
now,
can, they can flex, but you will assign them. Okay.
Yes.
And then Deirdre is
Deirdre,
shared
Shared, yeah.
between all three sites, and Sarah
There is,
Pino.
yeah.
Would be shared between SV and the middle school.
And Trish also, right?
And-
Will she cover middle school or not?
Yeah.
You will, okay,
Yeah.
okay, got it, thank you.
The groundbreaking is coming. We do not have a definitive date yet because Juneteenth is happening, and there was talk about breaking ground on that day, but of course, that's a holiday. But it should be sometime around the middle of June. And we will be also varying, as I've mentioned before, our time capsule. And we're getting some really neat stuff from the kids, including electronic copies of yearbooks from each site, pictures. We will have letter from the two ASB groups. There will be a letter from me, as well as some other artifacts that we're putting in. There we go. Middle school town hall took place on Thursday, May 25th, from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. We had about 20 or so people in the live audience, and I think we had probably close to 100 people who joined us online.
108.
108. The presentation and the recording have both been posted to the Open Middle School website, and we're continuing to update the FAQ as new questions come in.
I think you skipped one.
Did I skip one?
I know you skipped one.
Oh, now I know why you know I skipped one. This is important. There are a lot of talk about lockers. Students will have two different lockers on campus to use. They'll have a small box locker for PE, and they will also have a book locker. The book lockers are not large enough to hold a full rolling backpack. So kids are going to have to decide to make use of these lockers and not bring the rolling backpacks along. Makes it tougher in the classrooms as well. But the students will be able to purchase a padlock from Open Middle School. And the reason we want them to purchase through us is that all of the padlocks will have codes, and we will keep track of the combinations and also be able to open all of them from behind with a master key. Keeps us from having to cut locks off should somebody forget their combination and all that good stuff. Mr. Barley is going to send me some pictures of the lockers. I'm going to probably post those when we get them up, because I get asked all the time by the kids, will we have lockers? We're gonna have lockers. Or we have PE lockers. We're gonna have PE lockers and book lockers.
That's probably one of the most asked questions I hear.
Lockers.
I knew it was important to have lockers for the kids as far as almost like a rite of passage in middle school. I didn't realize that they were so focused on it.
Well, because they carry all their
Yeah.
bags, their stuff on their backs.
Yeah.
They look like turtles, literally.
And I know some
I
of
don't
them
know
are,
why, because they don't really have much they have to bring.
some of them are already planning their decorations. I saw one student with a tiny little disco mirror ball, wants to hang that up in there, so that's all good.
Now I can do that.
The middle school town hall, and then the next one. That's it for tonight. That's probably the shortest I've done, I think.
Are you ready for questions?
Sure.
Or comments? I just wanted to comment that we're gonna invest about $100,000 in lockers for the improvement to the current campus. So just wanted to note that. And then I wanted to know, I don't have a middle schooler next year, but when will they have access to decorate their lockers? Will they have access on their Meet the Teacher Day? Will they be will all happen the first day of school? Like, how do they prepare? Because these kids have never had a locker before.
It's great.
So,
So I can answer that one. When the lockers get delivered, okay, and when they're ready. So right now we're in the, let's decide between 3 different blue shades, okay? Is what we're looking at, and then it'll help, you know, if this gets pretty tonight, they're expecting 7 to 8 weeks, about 7 weeks to have them delivered, so.
so we're still possibly it's gonna be ready for the first day of school.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it should, but we don't wanna
Promise
Yeah,
anything,
we
we
don't
don't have to
promise
promise anything.
Over promise.
Right. Oh,
Under
promise,
promise,
over
over
delivery,
delivery.
yes,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
but something to consider is letting the kids have a chance to
Yes,
set up.
that's a great idea. Thank you for that.
And for their locks, we'll give them their first lock, but if they lose their lock, then they will have to buy additional locks.
So do they keep their lock, they go home with their lock and they use it the next year, they turn it back in, what happens?
They would turn it back in.
It's like the Chromebook.
Okay,
They turn it back in, we reassign them.
But if they
so do we have a lock policy
take it,
that we're gonna put in the handbook or?
we will probably have a locker policy that we will put, but, right now we do not, but we will have a policy because we do reserve the right to be able to search the lockers, and be able to.
I just
get
kind of
into
want
the
everything kind of
lockers.
laid out for that
Kids.
reason, yes.
Please use the same stringent contract that you have for the Chromebooks.
Yes, please.
Punishment by 10 years of prison.
Yeah.
You lose your-
This is what I think I read. Any other questions for Mr. Pickler? Thank you for joining us. And
I'm super
we're very excited, yeah.
Welcome.
Looks like you guys now look like a school now, very good.
I know. Only staffed up.
We even got dressed up the same on accident, so.
I don't know what it is. It's like the-
Navy blue day.
It feels like those are the 3 different blues you're considering.
Eagle blue.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, thank you very much. Okay, we got item number D, operations update, Mr. Bali.
Jonathan. Mine will be equal in length, I think.
And Jonathan just put for me.
It's just. Let's see. You all approved the board approved the classroom furniture, so that's all on order. That was at the last board meeting. We do have some repairs to playground equipment that's yet to happen during this summer. We'll add an SV shed and some outdoor improvements to SV. We're working with Honor Society and expect to present to them this week our ideas. They already approved the budget. But they want to, you know, make selections as far as what they'll be contributing toward, which is a great partnership. We've added one more pod at SOC as of this Wednesday. We have a lot of materials coming in from the grants that Dr. Henry had completed for the organization. And we have a lot of moving goods right now on the campuses. And the moving boxes are set to be delivered tomorrow. There's a little bit of delay for the staff, and then we're going to make that it's a very easy process for the teachers. It is work, but they should be able to get everything packed up in their classrooms by the end of their contract, the end of the school year. All right, next one. Prior to this week, we've had our on-site meetings with various Saddleback Valley contractors and their own staff as well, facilities, business services. So we've had fire access, asphalt, various people there. I've met with painting estimator, doing some planning for some trim work and improving a few things. Roofing work at SV took place in May and in June, this past on Saturdays. We've been doing that. This week, we have had IT and furniture donations. I have a slide on this from an SV parent, SOC parent, excuse me. Luke and Betsy Freiler, okay, and the company is Center Code, so I'll share a little bit more about that in a minute. And then with board approval, as I mentioned, as you all just heard, we have the lockers, and regular updates. We have basically we're expecting weekly updates with SVUSD. So we will then in turn be planning to communicate with the community every 2 weeks. That's our plan throughout the summer. Next slide. So the donation of the office furniture, as I mentioned to you today, this is a full day project. This just happened today, all right? All of the maintenance and tech and custodial staff, as well as technology staff, everyone pitched in. This furniture came from Center Code, which is in Laguna Hills, so about 10 minutes away from our school sites. So we have monitors, IT hardware, and then some great desks for the SOC library. Okay, so we have that. We'll have to purchase some shelving units. But this is electrical, similar to the sit-stand desk that we have, but it'll be electrical and it has panels in between. So it'll work really well for students who might be meeting with an IA, with another teacher or other students. We think it's going to have enough privacy, but also be open in that area. So just think in terms of there's a big window in the back of that area. So we're really excited and it'll look really good with the dark carpet that we have there and have this white, very light. So we're excited about this. All right, and then the other things we have, so we had a truck that went to SOC with that, and then a truck today went over to the middle school and to SV. And they will be able to outfit the office of the middle school with this furniture. So we're super excited to have enough furniture for a little conference room and everything that we'll need there. So in addition to what you all approved to be purchased through School Outfitters last month, right, for the classroom furniture, we're kind of rounding it out with some of these, areas that are shared areas. So super excited, very good quality, very thankful to the filers and this company for donating to us. And we'll ask you to approve the donation at the June 20th meeting. It just happened today, so I wanted to share it with you. Okay, thank you. And then for IT, I want to thank again, Jonathan, you helped out all day today with that exercise. So thank you. He was in charge of all the IT donations. So they've been working on the return of all the end of year materials. We'll do some inventory of the Chromebooks and the teacher computers. They've been testing of the badge system that we'll have at the beginning of the new school year for access into the office. And then he's been researching for infrastructure purchases, which you'll see in future board meetings. The board will for approvals as we move forward through the summer. And then we're increasing bandwidth. So any questions at all for me?
So I have a question. The badge system for employee access, is that, do they, so now today they actually have to go check into the front office every day they come in the morning?
What it's been is they had done it manually, okay?
So they have to clock in today? Oh,
Yeah,
okay. So
and
this is going to be used for clock in as well?
No, it actually is separate. So for non-exempt employees, hourly employees, they do a time card system through our vendor that we use
Okay.
for payroll. This is for access so that we'll know who's on site. And in case there's an emergency from a security perspective, we'll know who's there.
So they have to go badge in,
Yeah.
even though
Yeah.
they can access the site without badging.
Most private or
That's good.
for-profit
Yeah.
companies, there's an interest to get into the site. So we think
If we ever had an emergency, then
Yeah.
we would
Then we know
know
who is
exactly
there. Yeah,
who was
that's fine.
there and.
yeah, it upgrades our overall security plan.
Yeah.
So good question. Anything else? Any other questions?
I have a detailed question.
Okay.
Okay, so what's the library furniture that's there? Are we equipping some other classroom or some other?
Actually, it's
What-
going over to the CTE at the middle school. So
Okay.
those sit-stand desks,
Yeah.
we're kind of bringing those together.
Okay,
They're in several different parts on 2 campuses, different classrooms
Yeah.
and libraries. So we're gonna use that for the CTA. That's what we're hoping to do. Okay.
so, okay.
We
thank you.
recycle, we reuse.
love
Okay.
And those stand desks are really
They're
nice
great.
for
Yeah.
the computer lab, the kids will be able to use those.
Because they're currently in like Soto's room.
Yeah, certain
Okay, well,
classroom.
we'll get them all and we'll be,
Yeah.
and they'll all be going to the middle school.
Yep, yeah.
And then are we good with Chromebooks? I know last year we approved buying a bunch of Chromebooks. This year we don't need any more because.
We
You wanna take
likely will have Chromebooks, that's why they're gonna be doing the inventory right now. We likely will
Okay.
have a few. We're looking at probably about 200 to replace. Every year we
Yeah.
make sure that
Right.
we're less than 5 years old. So we're looking at a couple of hundred, probably on the June 20th board meeting.
And do you guys anticipate for middle school also to have these Chromebooks that we have, or are you gonna consider buying something
We'll probably keep the
same system?
system.
And it works for the middle school?
Yeah.
It works, we have the touch screen Chromebooks for
Yeah.
the younger grades because they
Yeah.
have a harder time with just
Yeah.
having the mouse pad and the keyboard. But as far as our current Chromebooks, they're the same Chromebooks
Okay.
that most of the high schools and middle
Okay.
schools use, so they work fine for the middle school
Thank
kids. It's more about the touch screens for the younger kids.
And then, sorry, one more question. All the IT assets that are currently, like the Chromebooks, for example, you will move those into the middle school asset base?
It kind of depends on, well, some of them will stay, we'll probably, as we do the order, we'll split that out using our new, site allocations for those, so that,
But 200 is not gonna be enough for you, right? So you're gonna take some from SOC and some from SC and give it to. So you
Yeah, because
intend to
they-
do that.
With the
Yeah.
kids already.
You intend to do
because
that.
they're already with
Yeah.
the middle school kids, yeah.
I know you'd mentioned we can send the money to middle school, but we can.
We can send some of the
Okay.
access.
Yeah, very good. Any other questions from Mr. Polly?
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Good job on getting on the SVUSD construction meetings. Item number C, 2023-2024 LCAP plans. We're looking to economic plans. Okay.
Good evening. So is this going to work or? You have a Jonathan clicker?
Can you put it into the site?
Okay, so a little history on the LCAP. I know you've seen this. This is in case there's someone watching. We also shared this at our stakeholder engagement, but just as an overview, LCFF, the local control funding formula, is how we are funded. This started in 2013 and 14. It helped to redistribute how California education funds were distributed. You can see here that it's based on every student. There's a base amount. And then there's some adjustments that are made for elementary, middle, and high school. High schools get more money over that base because it's a little more expensive to run a high school. And then elementary would be the lowest, then middle, then high school. And then also adjustments are made based on your student population. So specifically, they look at low income, foster youth, and English learners. We don't have very high numbers there, but some districts that do get a lot of extra money based on their needs, and that is how we are funded. So the LCFF is the funding, and in order to get this funding, we have to turn in an LCAP each year. Next slide.
I think it'll work.
Oh, you think it'll work? Okay. So the LCAP is a 3-year plan, but we update it every year. This is year 3 of the 3-year cycle. There was an extra year thrown in there because of COVID. They put it on pause. But we should have start a new cycle next year, meaning in 23-24, we'll be writing a new cycle for 24-25. We like to write our LCAPs because they encourage telling a story of support, impact, and hopefully making it in very accessible language so that if anyone, parents wanted to read the LCAP, they'd be able to see where our priorities are and how we spend our money and how we've improved and what data we look at. There's a lot of planning that goes into it, and as well as engaging our community. It's not something that we do in a silo, that we sit in a room, we do by ourselves. It also serves as our strategic plan because each of our sites is technically its own LEA. It is unusual, but we have to write 3 different LCAPs. Usually you would have a district with 1 LCAP, and even if there's 20 schools, they would have 1 LCAP and maybe 20 school site plans. For us, it's 3 LCAPs, and they serve also as that plan. We align our LCAP. Not only is it kind of a story of how our students are doing, how we're building programs at OPA, but it also is aligned to our budget. So every budget item that we have, anything we want to buy, we submit which goal and action it aligns to. And then just so you know, this was an unusual year because we've never written an LCAP for a brand new school that didn't exist. So we reached out to the top people at Orange County Department of Education. They kind of led us through that process. It's a lot. If you looked at the LCAP, it's there are goals and actions, but there's not data because it is a new school. So we're using it as a planning document, and then next year it'll kind of capture things a little bit more as we redo that. The LCAP is based on 8 state priorities, so you can see them here. Basic services, are we following state standards? We have to include parent involvement, how we are helping our students to achieve. Are we engaging students with attendance, school climate? Do all students have access to core courses? And then there's some other pupil outcomes. So all of these state priorities are also kept in mind as we're writing our LCAPs. So here's some of the ways that we gathered input this year for our LCAP. We gave 3 surveys, a parent survey, a student survey for grades 5 through 8, because they're better able to complete the survey, and a staff LCAP survey as well. We looked and did a presentation at our stakeholder engagement meetings, sharing progress towards our goals. So we look at what we had last year, what did we do? Maybe what was our progress? We reviewed data, and then we also review the performance on the local performance indicators, which Trish will be presenting next week. Or next board meeting, sorry. Here are some specifics for the educational partnership. We tried to include everyone in our LCAP development. We had 3 meetings. One was at SOC, although SV and SOC parents were invited. One was at SV and the same. And then we had 1 virtual meeting. Our LCAP stakeholder engagement meetings were really, they were really good this year. A lot of great input. People were very excited. We had activities to make it really family friendly, developing actions and services, and we're just going to keep getting better at that. So some of the activities and input, we shared a lot of data. We had them look and review and revise our goals and actions and services. So they really looked at everything that was in the LCAP and then what are we missing? And we had groups that put together a wish list of other actions they would like to see at OPA. And then we do what's called the roadshow, and we take the LCAP around to different groups and share what we've come up with. So just last week we presented at DLAC. Our LCAP will be presenting at these other groups as well to get some more input from Honor Society, our site leadership, our staff meetings. Again, I already mentioned the survey. And then our board committees also and our site level focus groups, all the work that we do really serves to inform the LCAP. So here are our goals. I can summarize them very quickly. I will not read them. Our goal 1 is really about academic achievement and how our kids are doing. Goal 2 is about our staff. Not only hiring high quality staff, but also that they are able to participate in professional development and they're taken care of. Goal 3 is really about safe, secure, well-equipped learning environments. So that's about our facilities, all the work that David does. And then goal 4 is about engaging community partners and parent involvement. Here are some highlights. Again, I won't read them. I'll just kind of go over a few. For goal 1 for our academic program, we really do have full implementation of our curriculum. We've improved our intervention curriculum as well as our services for intervention. We brought in some supplemental materials to help enhance instruction, strengthen the multiple intelligences, differentiation. We have a comprehensive assessment system. All of that enrichment has come back: Taekwondo, world languages, STEAM, music, more field trips. We're really working and will continue to work on opportunities for our GATE students, gifted and talented, and then students support services, helping for attendance, mental health, student behavior, health and wellness. Some of the things that specifically came from parent input. So some of the language here is more parent language. Oh, okay, go back and there we go. So these things were written on posters by our parents, and we were able to weave all of these into our LCAP. So providing CTE and elective courses that lead to high school pathways, that's new. The comprehensive sports program with intramurals and competitions with other schools for the middle, keeping some intramural sports at the elementary. The parents wanted us to make sure our staff had what they need to keep organized So we wrote that in, expansion of STEAM activities and music offerings, for example, the string classes that we'll have at the middle school. More intervention opportunities, more field trips, the additional school counselor for the middle school. And we're adding something this year, subject area coordinators. It's a stipended position if approved by the board that will help to reinforce goal 1 with our staff. Highlights for goal 2, we continue to hire and retain highly skilled teachers and staff. Eva has done a great job. It really does seem like our pools are very strong there. We are continuing to provide professional development reimbursements. So, and a lot of our staff are taking advantage of that, where they get to take a class, do whatever they would like to do, and they get $1,000 each. We added OPA leads to support our staff and aspiring leaders. And then we strengthened our PD plan in a lot of different areas, as you can see.
What are PLCs, Dr. Henry?
PLCs are professional learning communities.
Okay.
So on the days that we don't have direct
Makes sense.
PD, they are able to work together as a learning community. Here are some things from goal 2 that came directly from our parent and engagement workshops. So we were able to lower teacher-student ratios, provide some extra classroom support with our instructional assistants. We hired additional staff for consistency. And I think what they really meant there is as we move into the middle school, make sure that we're duplicating and able to replicate some of our great programs. And then we've been focusing on professional development for our certificated and classified staff. And we did a lot for our administrators this year, which is a little bit new.
And Dr. Henry, on this one, the one question I have is, we have a goal now for lower student to teacher ratio. What should we be saying if someone asks us, what is the student ratio at OPA? So
No, Amy can rattle them off.
It depends on grade levels, so it's a smaller student teacher ratio in the lower grade levels and then kind of goes up, and it's an average. So I think starting in TK where it's 12-1, moving up to 25 to 28-1 in the lower grades, and then around 30-1 in the middle school. So
that is different from what we've had. That's
yeah,
lower
right
than-
now we have 34 to 35 in the middle
Okay, that's
school,
good.
and then 32 to 33 in those elementary grades, and then 30-1 in the lower grades. So it's going down by 4 or 5 students.
And this is the plan for
grade
next
level.
year,
This
right?
is the plan for next year.
So
This is how we-
15 for the TK,
Well,
and about
12 plus
so
1 for
12,
TK.
and then 25 to
About 25-1 in the lower grade,
25, 20, and then
25 to 28.
and then about a 30 mark. Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be important for all of us to know what, I think that'll be, okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Goal 3, you hear a lot of the updates here on a regular basis with what David he presents. So these are just some of the highlights, but also included in that safe, secure environments are some of the programs we do to make sure our students are safe and getting individualized plans if needed. So we have our technology infrastructure, as was mentioned, our SST process, student study team, where if a student needs additional help and either a parent can recommend or a teacher can recommend, we get a team together to really make sure that the student, there's some individualized strategies. Our positive behavior interventions and supports helps with our safe and secure environments. Facilities improvement has been a big deal. We've developed some outdoor learning spaces this year with our gardens. We continue to partner with Boys and Girls Club, safety committees at each school, as well as a lot of safety technology this year, and then expanding our food services. Some of the things specifically that we added because of parent input, we were asked, there was a lot of focus on maintaining and improving restroom facilities. I didn't put it in this slide, but we also did write into the LCAP that we would have in our PBIS plan, specifically focused on behavior regarding restrooms, appropriate ways, to keep the restroom clean and things like that in our PBIS plan. because that was asked for by our parents. We've added campus supervisors, we've updated PE and sports equipment. We ordered some class sets of iPads for our STEAM classrooms, moving from just a small group. I think they had 5 or 6. Now they're each going to have a classroom set by 3 different classroom sets for one for each school.
I love all the progress that's been made. These are like any other, I feel like school would struggle to just do any one of these things. We can do 10 at a time. That's cool. So not so much piling on. In the restrooms, vape detection is pretty awesome, pretty accurate, pretty fast. And now that you guys have foundational technology that would allow those notifications to happen, for staff intervention, is that something that's
There's several vendors that we're just trying to talk to about what the options are. So if anybody has any ideas, I'm always open to listen, but it's very big right now.
Yeah.
And Mr. Brickley has been discussing that as well.
okay?
Yeah,
Good.
about getting the middle school restrooms especially.
Good to hear.
And Dr. This one, you don't have to add it to the goal, but we talked about those wellness spaces that, there's some funding available. If you can think about the next year, I mean, mental health is going to continue to be a massive issue. And I think there is funding available from OCB. And so something for you to think about as maybe not in the LCAP, but have it in I don't know what
Actually,
space wise.
so because this is the public hearing and then the final approval is on the 20th, we may add.
Yes, just
something.
evaluate the feasibility, but I think that I thought that idea is super awesome. And so if we are able to get into that train, that'd be
I've
great.
already had a few discussions and I don't want to say specifics yet, but we've already identified some options, at least at both elementary schools at this point.
I think with the board would be happy to fund something. These are wellness spaces where it's like a safe space for people to go and, have a mental break and so on. So it's a new concept that the OCD is piloting in different schools. So we can raise a hand and say, we'll bring 1 classroom, you fund 2 classrooms, right? So that way we get all 3.
And I know there's funding available for that.
Yeah.
Yes. Trish has been working with the counselors. They do a lot with that, even in their own counseling offices right now.
Yeah.
Also, for the MTSS conference this summer, we have a large group going and the OCDE has a large part of that. And they will have different well spaces
Tell
set
us how to
up
do
for
it.
you to go in and see what they
Yeah,
can
that's
look
fine.
like and things like that and explain more about the funding this
Yeah.
summer.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. So the last goal is goal 4. That's our educational partnering engagement. So some highlights, we're continuing to support our communication tools. We've increased student recognition this year, making sure the award ceremonies are back. And we included the Civic Learning Pathway Award that I shared earlier that over 90% of our 5th and 8th graders received this year. We are focusing on enrichment, bringing back majors. I think both schools have majors this week, or one may have it next week. They're all planning right now. A lot of buzz about majors right now. Also clubs, activities and sports. We brought back, we started the Parent Ambassador Program. We continue to support our Honor Society, our school site councils. We did LCAP meetings, as I said, our room parents are back. We had an awesome showcase last week at SV, and tomorrow is the showcase at SOC, the VAPA showcase, which includes the 8th grade capstone project. So you can stop by, that will be amazing. Chancellor chats, town hall meetings. I know we brought in a bunch of parent education night opportunities with speakers when they're available as well. We also wrote into the LCAP. We also wrote into the LCAP to try to have some internal parent nights as well, maybe by grade level bands for parents. So grades this, what to expect in the classroom. So we do our chancellor chats and then we've gone outside a lot, but really kind of internalizing it. We looked into, again, this was feedback from parents, a we tip line of some sort, which is like an anonymous line for students or parents to call, and that would go to our administration. We looked at incentivizing the parent education nights because we're trying to increase attendance and make sure that people know that they're available. We talked a lot, and I know SV did this at their last event, is really looking at childcare for these parent nights through the Boys and Girls Club, partnering with them. Expanding our fundraising opportunities through community outreach is written into the LCAP. And then also something new was self-care and mental health resources for our staff. So that is a lot. The LCAP captures what we're doing and what we hope to do in the future. It tells the story of our development and who we are. Do you have any questions for me?
I just wanted to commend you about the
Mhm.
parent education night. I just saw the presentation for the TKK and I was like, I would have loved to have seen that when I was first starting, right? It would have given me so much like confidence and ideas of what to do. So I.
And the team, so SV's was actually today, right before the board meeting, and then SOC's was last week. So in the board update,
Yeah.
that's where I
It's really
put the
nice to see,
presentation in
yeah.
there for you to see. But they're amazing, and our I know that we have strong team members they do such a great job at those meetings.
Is
for our
that,
staff.
are we potentially gonna do something like that for entrance into middle school, like what to expect in middle school?
Absolutely. I know Dawn and I have spoken, and actually with Ms. White as well, about orientation meetings. We're just kind of trying to see where they will fall on the calendar. Usually when that would happen, you do it both for students,
Mhm.
really focusing on student orientation meetings with expectations, but also parent orientation meetings
Yeah,
as
like
well.
it'd be cool to do like a welcome and orientation for the
Absolutely.
middle school. That would be.
Mhm. That's great.
And Dr. I have to say that goal number 4 was something that 2 years back and a year back, there was a lot of desire because of COVID, and you guys have hit it out of the park. I think if you do the average, maybe twice a month, parents can be listening to a presentation, which I think is pretty amazing. So I think that's fantastic. In the spirit of what Raymond said, I think the one small thing, this parent square thing, every time we get a Sunday scoop or a message from we have to do two clicks on it. So not only is the email, but then most of the time people miss the attachment to it. I wonder if there's a way to streamline it so that there is no attachment, that everything sort of shows up. Again, this is like going from really good to even better. So just think about it, because I can guarantee you probably 20% of the parents are not opening the attachment because it's so tiny you can't see it, right? That's number one. Number two, I saw this thing about the self-care and mental health resources for our staff. I wonder if there is some investment to be had for like their break room. And I went to the SOC staff room to look for coffee, and I couldn't find coffee. I assume the others, unless it's hidden from the board members. So I think there's something to be had. Maybe you could have like the staff members and put a committee together. And I think we can fund it, right? I mean, because again, that would help them with any sort of and again in the spirit of self-care. But I know Honor Society does stuff for them, but we could also perhaps supplement it if it's helpful.
Absolutely.
Anything else, folks?
This is excellent.
Really well done. Yeah. I do want to commend each of the chancellors because they really, this is their plan. So we write it together. We've met. John brought a lot of really new information and some great writing skills into the group. And but both Chancellor Velez and Chancellor Wright, they worked very hard on these documents, and we start very early on working on these. So it's a long process. So they did a wonderful job.
And Dr. Kanan, this might be a presentation that might be worth coming from you, sending it to the parents saying, hey, by the way, we reviewed this at the board, the recording is here, but here's a link to the presentation, because this very clearly says what we've done and what we intend to do. And it's concise, so we can, people can kind of quickly flip through it. It might be worthwhile, either the chancellor send it out or you send it out. I think it might be worthwhile.
That's a good
if you want to consider it. Okay, if there's nothing else, thank you, Dr. Henry, appreciate it. Flying through 3 LCAPs in a short order.
Yeah. Now 3 budgets.
Thank you, Ms. Collins.
That's going to be the budget presentation.
Sorry.
That's okay, she had it memorized.
Yeah.
She can answer.
I don't think it's being shared on.
Yeah.
Zoom, but-
Yeah, now it. All right, so here on the first slide, we have the multi-year projection assumptions. Basically, this is the criteria that was used for all 3 budgets for the next 3 fiscal years. So we'll start at the top with the revenue drivers for enrollment. We have middle school SV and SOC numbers for each year there, separating by like a hyphen there, a dash. So for enrollment for next year, then we have 570 students at the middle school, 533 students at SV, and 676 students at SOC. And it's pretty consistent across the board, with the middle school increasing by 30 students 2 years out in fiscal year 24-25. For ADA, we have projected at 97% for all 3 years across all 3 campuses. And then jumping right into funding sources for the LCFF. Currently, as mentioned at the last board meeting, per the governor's May revision, the COLA percentage for next school year is set at 8.22%. This is still not final. This will be final in about a week and a half when the budget is approved officially for the state. But currently, this is where we're at. And then for fiscal year 24-25, it drops down to 3.94%. And lastly, fiscal year 25-26, consistently with the prior year, about 3.29%. For federal revenue, I just want to highlight a unique situation because the middle school will be in its first year next year. And so for federal special education, they will not be receiving federal funding, but they will receive 2 years out. So beginning in year 24-25, the middle school is anticipated to receive about $73,000 there, $73,000 there. Why is it not eligible?
Because it's a first year, so they fund based on prior year ADA for federal money. So there's
No
there's
new schools
no
are able to get federal special ed.
Even though we're just moving our kids.
And that's a unique thing, like you
Yes.
notice that everywhere, I mean, Amy explained it to us that. Even though, so that if you look at that second and the third number, all of it is 0, but part of 96K and part of 119K belongs to the middle school, but they've spoken to the auditors and we can't take money from the current middle
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
So that's why the middle school budget's gonna look a little weak.
So in jumping into state revenues, we have a lot of one-time funding that pretty much drops out in year 2 and year 3 here. And a lot of it, the middle school not receiving. So as far as state revenues, not much is being received for the middle school. So we have ELOC funding. Eventually, again, the middle school will receive that beginning in year 24-25. Again, because it's a first brand new school. And it's funded based on prior year ADA, so those are factors to consider. And learning block recovery block grant, as of right now, that's one-time funding. Who knows what will happen in the future? But again, this is what we know as of today. And then EEBG, we are educator effectiveness block grant that is only budgeted for next year. We should be finishing up that pot of money in fiscal year 23-24 for SV and SOC. And we'll see what happens in the future year, but again, this is what we know as of today. And then MTSS grant, again, this is only available to the elementary schools for the next 2 years out. And then kitchen grant money, this is, we already are aware of the funding that we will be receiving, but this is one-time funding again, only available to the elementary schools. And then lastly, Prop 28 Arts Music School funding. This was approved by the voters back in November. So we're also aware of the amount that we are to be receiving next year. And again, one-time funding as of right now.
For expenses, just across the board, we budgeted a 3% kind of COLA inflation there with our expenses. Our FTE for next year, then we have 50 FTE at the middle school and SV for the 3 years across in the future. And then for SOC, we have a 61 total FTE there. And STRS rate is remaining the same at 19.10% for the next 3 years. Unlike PERS, where it is at 26.68% next year, will jump up to 27.7%. And lastly, it will jump to 28.3% for fiscal year 25-26.
So one of the things that Denali and I asked Rosa to do is to make sure that we start getting trained to this notion of having 3 campuses rather than have 3 different tables. So the first number is always going to be middle school, then SV, SOC, for no other reason than her systems spit it out that way. So it is not like, right? But then what I would urge the rest of you, whoever does presentations for all 3 campuses, to use that same order, right? So mentally, we're always trained to say, first number is middle school, then SV, SOC. So across the board, all of you guys, if you can keep that consistent, then, everybody looking at it, because as we scale to more campuses, we sort of need these shortcuts.
Can I ask a couple
yes,
questions
yeah.
before you move on? One of the questions that I wanted to ask is, your enrollment projections at the top, it shows going down in SOC.
SOC, yeah.
Yeah, SOC on the second year. I mean, what the numbers to me should either be why the difference in a couple of numbers?
Because the class sizes are different in each grade level, and so when one, like say, first grade matriculates to 7th or 2nd grade,
Okay,
those classes would go up by 3 students.
Got it.
And so it kind of depends on which grade levels we have more students in versus less students, so they aren't ever usually perfectly static. The middle school is static because we have the same class sizes in every grade level on average.
okay,
But our elementaries have different class sizes and different grade levels, so those will never really be, they're pretty darn close, but they'll never be exactly static.
okay. And then on our expenses, we're putting it 3%, but our funding sources are not. And so is that something that we will eventually start to look at
So 3% is just a very big
Yeah,
picture
no,
for
understandable.
like utilities and things like that. So we do look at line items. So like legal fees as an example, if we know that we have a big settlement coming up, then we'll budget more. We won't just budget the 3%. So we do take into account line by line expense. 3% is just when we're saying, okay, we're going to be spending pretty consistent in these areas, we just use that 3% inflation rate.
my question is knowing where inflation is at right now, are we doing ourselves a disservice by having our expense COLA be so low? And so that might be something to look at one point.
Yeah.
And usually our biggest expense is our employee salaries. And the way that our salary schedule is set up is that step by step is 3%. And so when we look at our biggest expense being, or most of our expense being those employee salaries, and that our salary schedule is set up at 3%, that's kind of why we use that average of 3%. But then in other areas, like Rosa said, we will adjust for what those individual areas are going to be. The 3% is mainly to account for staff salaries going up 3% each year.
And I think remember, Travis, the other thing is that with all the budgetary pressures that are coming because of the recession and everything, that funding source could get worse.
Yeah, of
Right?
course.
And so I think that's why there needs to be what Ms. Palomino does every month. She tells us what has changed in the
Yeah, of
assumptions.
course.
So we have to keep track of, we have a little bit of money that we can use for flex if we go negative operating income. But you're absolutely right. It's like we have to, because right now, this kitchen sink grant or all of these grants are coming, but we have no idea whether it's going to come later or not.
Yeah, it's true.
Likely not to.
Yeah. Or what the state COLA is going to look like. If you see this year, it's very high.
Yeah.
Next year, it's going down, and it likely could go down. That's what they're projecting as of right now, almost 4% next year. With the actual state budget, that likely will be even less than the 3.94% that they're projecting now. So we try to be kind of, conservative on our projections, especially when it comes to what our funding sources are. Like the Prop 28 should be an ongoing because it was a proposition, but we don't know exactly how much we're going to get in those out years, so we don't budget based on that. Because even though it is supposed to be ongoing funding, we don't know exactly how much we're gonna get, so we don't bank on getting those funding sources, but usually our revenue goes up each year because we don't bank on anything that we don't already know we're gonna get. Got it.
Thank you. So here is the middle school multi-year projections for 3 years out. And the first column, that's year one for the middle school. As you can see, it is operating at a negative income of $87,000, which is we still end up with a healthy fund balance of just under $702,000, which is 10% of our expenses. Year two, fiscal year 24-25, we are expecting to finish the year at a positive operating income of $384,000, and then year three at just over $394,000. I also would like to highlight under the expenses, other outflows. I put there in parentheses for illustration purposes only, the $305,000 for those 2 years. That's just to show that we will have more than enough cash for the middle school to repay back the middle school loan that was loaned out for the current year to fiscal year 2023-24. So that will not reflect on the income statement, but I just wanted to show it so you guys can get an idea that even with that, the middle school is scheduled to have a positive, strong operating income year 2 and year 3 in the future.
And then 15.5% is 15% is what is recommended as balance and fund balance as a percentage of, so
Per our.
I mean, on the SC and SOC, they're much higher,
Yes.
but this is the recommendation. That's what I remember you guys saying last year. So
So
already
we're
second
looking
year,
at it the second year.
second year we're already there, and then we continue to repay the loan. So
Yes.
that's
Most schools wouldn't, a lot of new schools wouldn't get there until their maybe 5th year, so we're getting there very early with our middle school.
And then for OPA Saddleback Valley, we are projecting to end all 3 years in positive operating income. Next year, finishing the year at $195,000, year 2 at $154,000, and year 3 at a positive $168,000. So as you can see here, our ending fund balances are much higher than the middle school at just pretty much 69%, almost 70% for the next 3 fiscal years.
not if David spends more money on furniture.
David's trying.
Yeah, you gotta watch that.
I'm always the problem, I know.
So for South Orange County,
Yeah, you want to.
so for South Orange County, we have, a little bit higher operating income than Saddleback Valley. Again, because they are higher grade levels, the LCFF funding, as Dr. Kernan mentioned, it's slightly higher than those lower grades. Or Dr. Henry, actually, she was the one that mentioned it. Sorry about that. So for year one, we are seeing a positive operating income of $330,000. Year 2, $365,000, and year 3, $381,000. And here, a very healthy fund balance as well across the board for all 3 years. So this slide, I have all 3 campuses for the budgeting for next year, just so you guys can get a comparison with all 3 schools for the next fiscal year, 2023-24. So at the end of the year, all 3 schools will have a positive operating income of $438,000 and with a very healthy ending fund balance of just under $11.8 million. So very healthy across all 3 campuses. What I also would like to highlight is where it says beginning balance unaudited. For Saddleback Valley and South Orange County, these figures actually are much higher than what we anticipated a month ago. So for Saddleback Valley, we are anticipating a $1.1 million revenue adjustment for the current year due to the employee retention credit tax return refund that you approved a few months ago. And for South Orange County, it's about just under $1.4 million. So that is included in that beginning balance number there. And so we reached out to our auditors because this is something new that OPA is experiencing. So we want to make sure we are doing things correctly. So we reached out to our Christy White, our auditors, and asked, you know, how do we book this? How do we record it to make sure that we're doing things correctly? And so we were advised by them to record the full revenue for the current year, which is 2022-23. And we will then also book the receivable. The cash won't come in for a few more months, but the full revenue will be recorded in the current year. So that's kind of where you will see that number in the beginning balance. But as I present in the future for the current year income statement and financials, you will see that number, and that will be recorded as an unrestricted federal dollars. So that's just something, some good news there to share with you. I know previously we showed that Saddleback Valley would be ending the year at about 351 negative operating income. So that will be going away, and South Orange County will just be throwing an even higher positive operating income.
Fantastic.
Any other questions?
I love how you're doing this, like Paul said. I really do. I do appreciate it. Actually, it's very helpful to see it that way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fowler.
Thank you.
Can you do something about the temperature? We just need- Are you trying to take us out of the room quickly? Sorry, I'm being a friend. I'm being.
No, I'm glad. I didn't know if it was just me, so.
I thought it was just me.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go to item number 10. We have several items for action. Start item number A, approve the 2023-24 Oxford Preparatory Academy student handbooks for the 3 campuses. Student handbooks have been updated to reflect current procedures and policies. LCAP goal 3, action 8, funding source LCFF, and we spent $7,500 on it. Second, the board of directors approve action items A, 1, 2, 3.
Motion.
Thank you, member Agarwal. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, member Chavez. Any discussion on this?
In reading these over, there was a lot of like grammatical errors and there was like things that I think were in SB and SOC that referenced middle school stuff. And then there was stuff in the middle school that referenced some elementary stuff. That all should be cleaned up before we actually get this.
They're not going to print till the end of June, so
Understandable,
we'll go through them again.
but we shouldn't be proving it if it's not right. And I think that to me was one thing that, and then there was things that I had questions on, like the virtual learning in the middle school. I know that's still a topic under discussion. That's referenced in the middle school handbook. And the wonderful parent ambassador program is not mentioned anywhere under parent participation. I would have loved to have seen that. And then communication, we've got all this great stuff around Parent Square now. I would really love to see that incorporated in here, because this is a handbook that both the kids use, but you also want the parents to use. And also along those same lines, I didn't see that much about Aries. And I think that's another piece that was missing as well. So.
So should we, could we defer it until the 20th, and then would that still give you enough time to print?
Yeah, they have to be sent the 21st, the day after.
Okay, so then
yes,
you'll give us
you
one more
present-
round and then we'll approve it on the 20th. Okay, and we'll.
So are we getting another version after this to look at prior to our meeting?
Yeah.
We'll have it in the,
Read for the board.
yeah, we'll have it in the folder for the 20th meeting.
Can I ask to remind myself, $7,500, is that just printing?
It's the printing, because we give a copy to every single student.
That's $5 you could spend on a kid.
It is, and honestly, the kids use it. They're great.
Yeah.
And they're absolutely a great
They're
asset
agendas.
that someone
Like a daily
has. I'm being
kind
so picky about it. It's great.
It's not just the handbook, it's also an agenda where the kids can write their homework and teachers can even communicate back and forth with parents and things like that. So.
We've also worked hard to put some of our instructional,
Champion
initiatives.
profile. Yeah,
Champion
yeah.
profile, thinking
Champion
notes.
profile.
The hope is that even some sentence starters for like Socratic seminars, and we want to focus on public speaking. So our hope is, and we're getting better, that our professors can say, everyone open your handbook to page 6. You know, use this when writing your next essay. So some of those things that we use a lot, we're working on that too.
Definitely. No, I love
So it's
that.
more than a handbook, right?
It is.
Yeah, it's more a planner.
Planner, it's a planner.
So I think it's even called weekly planner.
It's this, yeah, it's this.
I think it's the
student
best $5 we could spend. on it.
Definitely.
I was so surprised at how cheap it was.
Yeah. And my kids, I mean, by the end of the year, it's like they've used it. It's great to see them use it.
And that skills they can use later in life.
Yeah.
Okay, then we will defer the approval of this.
Yep.
Okay, we've got item number 3, approval of the 2020-25 Oxford Public Academy salary schedule. The 2020-25 OPA salary schedule has been created with consideration for inflation, cost of living, market conditions, newly created positions, and changes to some previous positions. A salary study of Orange County School Districts was conducted in April 2023 to determine comparable salaries for administrative, classified, and certificated positions. The 2023-25 salary schedule includes a 1.5% increase for all all classifications. The 2023-25 salary schedule also includes the following additional increases to align with OC districts for several hard-to-fill positions: 8.7% for registrar and 6% for instructional assistant, technology specialist, technology coordinator, and cafeteria assistant. LCAP go to action 2, action 1. Funding source will be from a normal funding source, and it is going to be incrementally $265,195 above last year's budget. It's actually already reflected in the proposed budget that Ms. Palomino showed us. It's recommended the Board of Directors approve action items B. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve action item B.
Thank you, Member Chavez. I'll second it. And do we need to have a discussion?
We have a short presentation
Okay.
just to go over everything. Right. All right, so again, this is, normally we try to do salary schedules every 2 years and do kind of a full look and comparison to our other OC districts. Because there's been a lot of sort of shifting, and after COVID and inflation, a lot of districts have taken a little longer for their negotiations to occur. It's been kind of a 2-year cycle for districts to finalize negotiations. A lot of districts, they have unions, and so they sometimes will have negotiations that will end in April, and then they'll retro those salary schedules back to the previous year. Luckily, for us, we can plan ahead a little bit better, and so we try to make sure that we take that, what other districts kind of have. We want to make sure that we're comparable, that we're getting good staff, and that we have the ability to really recruit the best staff out there. But again, we have the ability to do those comparisons and then project it for our budget, so that we're not kind of doing it after the fact. So if
Sorry.
Jonathan, can you? So again, usually every 2 years we'll do a comprehensive salary schedule, but we actually did one last year as well as this year because of different changes that have been happening in our surrounding districts. Almost all districts in Orange County post their salary schedules online. There is one that in Orange County that does not, for whatever reason. So we don't have as much information on that one. It's a very small district. Anyway, it's the smallest district in Orange County. So it's not as big of a deal, but pretty much everybody posted online. And so it's pretty easy to do those comparisons. And so again, now that all of the districts pretty much have finalized their negotiations, some districts have given rather large increases. Some districts have given no increase. We want to make sure that our increases are sustainable. If you look at the COLA for LCFF, it's 8.22% for next year. However, then it does go down to projected it being about 4% the year after, and then even lower than that the following year. So we don't want to give such a big increase that it's not sustainable year over year, but we also want to make sure that we're comparable and again are able to recruit the best staff. So next slide. So we're recommending an additional 1.5% increase. If you remember last year, we did a 3% increase. So most districts have only given an increase over the past 2 years. So that would result in, since last July to this July, in a 4.5% increase for all positions at OPA. And then in looking, especially during and after COVID, there have been several sort of hard to fill positions that districts have raised up over the last couple of years. Instructional assistants being one. If you look, we have quite a few instructional assistants that are necessary to provide support for our students, especially our Scholar Academy students. Those are very hard to find positions. And so districts have really raised that salary of those positions over the last couple of years. So for some of those hard to fill positions, we're recommending an increase to make sure that we again are comparable with those other districts. And then again, these increases are in addition to the $500 increase in health and welfare allowance that you as a board approved in the last meeting. So this would be in salary, but at OPA we look at our whole comp package. And so in addition to the $500 increase, this would be an increase in the base salary for those positions. So next slide. So for our administrative positions and our certificated positions, the new salary schedule would look like this. This also makes sure, especially for our certificated positions, that we are meeting the minimum wage requirements and that we are comparable to those surrounding districts. So normally when we're looking at this, we look at a couple of different spots. So all districts have usually a different set of columns, a different number of steps. And so we try to look at kind of that initial step and then the last column at 10 years, because that's usually pretty comparable to districts. And then the final and then kind of the final salary for those, because again, everybody has different salary schedules. And we want to sort of make sure that we're right in line in all of those different places. And then the same thing with our administrators. Everybody has a different number of steps for their administrators. So we usually will look at the initial step and then the final step and then make sure that those are in line. Next slide. And then for our classified, we have 3 different classifications for our classified salaries. So we have our classified exempt salary or salary exempt, our salary non-exempt, and then our hourly employees. And so you can see what that increase would look like for each one of these different positions. And again, kind of taking instructional assistants, we were at about $18. So this takes them up to about $19.40, putting them right in line with our surrounding districts, actually above most of our directly surrounding districts, but right in line with where Orange County is overall. Next slide. So again, we did add this because we always budget on, kind of the most amount of money we could possibly be spending. So this was included in Ms. Palomino's budget that she just presented. If it isn't approved, then it's much easier to take it out than to add it in. It just increases our operating income. But again, this does still, even with these increases, result in that very strong net fund balance at the end and positive operating income. Again, the only school that will not have a first year positive operating income is the middle school, which is to be expected anytime that you're opening a brand new school, and which is why we gave the loan to the middle school so that we would make sure that we had enough cash for the opening of the school. And then we're able to pay that back even with these salary increases, starting in the second year of operation with still a positive operating income. So the total for all three of the schools with the 1% as well as the specific increases for those positions is $265,000 across all three schools. So it impacts each site less than $100,000 all in for these increases. Next slide. And again, we do look at total compensation package. So looking at all of this together, it is comparable to our surrounding districts. A lot of times other charter schools don't post everything online. In fact, most of them don't have any salary schedules posted online or any of their compensation posted online. Those that do, we usually try to be a little bit higher than most of the charter schools, because a lot of times they are a little bit lower than the districts, and we want to make sure that we are competitive and able to get the best quality staff. All of the OC districts offer CalPERS and CalSTARS contributions. We offer that as well for the retirement system. We're comparable with our $12,000 allowance for health benefits. And then most districts do provide some type of stipend for master's and doctoral degrees. However, our stipends are a little bit higher than most of the other OC districts, because again, we want to make sure that we have people who have those higher degrees. So we want to entice people with master's and doctoral degrees. And then we do provide a professional growth stipend that Dr. Henry talked about in her presentation that is above what most other districts will do. Because again, we want people to keep learning and keep improving their craft. So that's something that we do for our employees, and we're very proud to be able to offer those stipends. Next slide. And that leads to our last slide. We do have additional stipends that staff members can earn for going above and beyond what they do in their normal teaching day. So those are things like ASB advisor, gate coordinator. Dr. Henry mentioned that one thing that we are adding next year are subject area coordinators, to be able to really have people who can look at each individual subject area and help us to improve in those specific areas.
If I can add, the MTSS certification, which is available for all staff, there's an asterisk there. That is funded out of an MTSS grant. So that's not coming out of LCFF or general funds, as well as the Thinking Maps Trainer of Trainers. That's also funded out of our EEBG fund. So just so you know that they're kind of specifically written into those plans, those two.
Summer school.
And summer school is taken also out of our ELOP fund. So those don't come out, that doesn't come out of our general fund. And then we have one of our teachers who are getting their adaptive PE credential. We spend a lot of money to pay for outside adaptive PE services. So having somebody on staff that's able to provide those services is really great for us, because they're right here on staff. They know the students and they can provide that. So we're offering a stipend for that person to be able to provide those additional services. So these are our proposed stipends for next year. And I think that is it. Any questions?
What about the other stipends that are offered?
Most of our other stipends, because of the way that we are doing our middle school schedule with the 8th period, and then we actually have worked out the minutes with all of the additional enrichment time during the day, that those stipends will actually be part of the normal, like the 8th period day for sports. So if it's basketball, the PE teachers have an extra prep period in order to be able to do basketball after school.
And then even our person who's coordinating the athletics for the middle school has a full period to do that,
Okay,
which a free period is a lot more than a stipend, right? When you look at like a percentage of the salary.
So we've tried to kind of work a lot of that into the actual schedule so that we don't have as many stipends.
got it. So there's no other stipends besides these.
It should just be these stipends, yeah.
Okay, that was one of my questions.
Do we approve the types of stipends every year or only if there's compensation changes?
You approve the stipend schedule every year.
Okay. I'm just thinking about the ones that are like grant funded, like I'd want to make sure like next year if there was a change to something that we are aware.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why we do it every year, and just kind of in looking at, sometimes we'll need something that will be coming up that year, like the trainer of trainers or the thinking maps. Thinking maps is sort of a 2-year kind of something that or 3-year thing. And so then in 2 more years, that might drop off and then it would be replaced by something else that was grant funded. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to the motion,
Should we do?
yeah. Was there any other questions before we, remember I was asked, can we do B and C together, or do we have to do it separate? I already read out B, so might as well finish B and then do.
I would finish B and then do C separately.
I think the presentation was together, so.
Yeah.
Any other questions, any discussion to be had before we approve or vote on item number B? Okay, so then I think we have a motion and a second, so
Yeah, do you
yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we go to item number C, approve the 2023-24 stipend schedule. Stipend schedule for extracurricular activities has been updated to reflect current enrichment offerings and staff extra duty assignments. LCAP goal 1, action 4, 5, 7, and goal 2, action 1. Funding source, there are several, and then budget of financial impact for 6,500 already reflected in the proposed budget. We recommend the board of directors approve action item C.
I make a motion to approve action item C.
Thank you, Member Chavez. May I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Smith, thank you. Any, I think the presentation is already complete. Any questions? Okay, we'll vote then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, excellent. We go to item number D, approve board resolution 2023-03, employer pickup of member contributions, EPMC. Employer pickup of member contributions is a program set forth in the provision of the Internal Revenue Code section 414H2, whereby employee contributions are non-taxable when they are reported as paid by the employer. This will allow for OPA middle school to operate in the standard pre-tax contribution model as the other OPA schools. It's recommended the board of directors approve action item D. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion.
Thank you, Member Agarwal. I'll second it. Any discussion?
This is kind of the same thing that you approved last
Matching
time for PERS. Now it's just for STRS.
Any questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And the reason they were on 2 different board meetings is because we got the STRS one from OCD after the board meeting versus before, just to let you know why those were on separate meetings.
We will happily approve. Item number E, approve contract with High Density Inc. to install student lockers for OPA middle school. This is new, huh? To support school improvements and enhance student learning experience, this contract utilizes the High Density Inc. LA County LAUSD piggyback contract 44008542/MAIS 2040058-5 IFP number. Really, you guys are writing. Sorry. 9/2022 through 6/30/2020. And 9/1/2019 through 8/21/2023 for commodity service shelving steel lockers. LCAP goal 3, action 10, funding source from LCFF, about $193,145.66. Depreciation will be reflected in the 2020-24 budget end. This was the comment, Member Agarwal, that you had made earlier about the lockers. Okay, it's recommended the board of directors approve action item E. May I have a motion, please?
Motion for item E.
Any second?
Second.
Second, thank you, Member Agarwal. Any questions on this?
Is this for both the PE and the book lockers or just
one.
book lockers.
We already have
We
the
already
PE lockers,
Oh.
and so this would just be for the book lockers.
And these, we're buying it, but we're not
Yes,
using
we're back.
it. Okay, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, after we got your lockers. Item number F, approve contract with Interior Management Inc. to install carpet for Open Middle School to support school improvements in order to carpet classrooms and common areas throughout the Open Middle School. This contract utilizes the Interior Management Inc. piggyback contract CMAS 423031075 dated 3/27/2023 to 3/14/2028. Non-information technology commodities base FSA schedule number GS 03F049AA. LCAP goal 3, action 10, funding source LCFF. Budget would be $48,480.90 for materials, $29,538.30 for labor, and total of $78,019.20. This will be reflected as depreciation starting with 2023-24 budget. So I recommend the board of directors approve action item F. Have a motion, please.
I make a motion.
Thank you, member Travis. Any second?
I second.
Thank you, member Agarwal. Any questions on this?
I think it's wonderful that we're gonna be investing in the new carpet for the new middle school. I think that just shows right out the gate that we want our kids to have a great, clean environment.
Mr. Wally, the painting, did we approve it already?
Yeah.
Do we need, so that'll come later if we have to paint it
Throughout the summer, there'll be additional,
for the middle school,
yes,
because this is specific to the middle school, right?
Yeah.
So you'll have something for this.
yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay. Item number G, approve election of Delight Travis to the OPA Board of Directors for an additional 2-year term. Per Arts of Pepper Academy 11th amended bylaws, each OPA director serves for a term of 2 years. Once the director's term is up, the remaining board members must approve the election of the director for an additional 2-year term. It's recommended the board of directors approve action item G. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
You.
And Delight has to abstain.
I have to abstain, yes.
Do we have a discussion? You can ask me Travis to lead.
You know, I'll just watch it on YouTube.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, go through item number H, approve election of OPA board member officer. Starting with president, each year the OPA board of directors holds an annual meeting to elect officers for the next school year. These officer positions include board president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. We'll have to have a nomination for the president.
I nominate Paul Kudu for president.
I second.
Any discussion? Okay, recommend the board of directors approve action item H. We need to have a motion.
Yeah. You need to have a motion, and only one person needs to nominate, but you
Oh.
can nominate.
You can have a motion.
I'll take a motion.
Okay.
We have a second,
Second.
and then all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm abstaining. Item number I, approve election of OPA board member officer vice president. May I have a nomination, please?
I'll nominate Delight Travis as vice president.
Okay,
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
I'll abstain.
Item number J, approve election of OPA board member officer secretary. I'll nominate member Smith.
I'll second.
May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Oh, yeah.
And then I have-
Nothing.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay, item number K, approve election of OPA board member officer treasurer.
I make a motion for member Argyle.
You're gonna nominate.
Nominate her,
I'll
sorry.
happily make a motion for that.
Yes.
May I have a second? Second, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Stay.
And the last item, item number L, approve proposed 2023-24 OPA board meeting calendar. Each year, the OPA board of directors must approve the calendar of regular meetings of the OPA board of directors. It is recommended the board of directors approve action item L. I think that.
Make a motion first, and then I'll read off the
Okay.
dates.
We make I'll make a motion to approve the board meeting calendar. Wait a second, member Agarwal seconding.
And then I think we are going to amend the calendar, and we'll post a new calendar on the website, but the new dates would be Wednesday, July 19th, Wednesday, August 16th, Wednesday, September 21st or September 20th. Tuesday, October 17th, Wednesday, November 15th, Thursday, December 14th will remain as it is on the calendar. Wednesday, January 17th, Wednesday, February 21st, Wednesday, March 20th, Wednesday, April 17th, Wednesday, May 15th, Tuesday, June 11th, and Wednesday, June 26th. So you would need to amend the motion to include the new dates.
So amended. And member Agua, will you second the
I will
amendment?
second the amendment.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, go to item number 11, executive director's report.
So it is almost the end of the year. I think we have only a little over 2 weeks left. We have a ton of activities coming up. I want to really congratulate our 8th graders who are going to be promoting from SOC and SV for the last time. Next year, we will have 8th graders promoting from the new middle school. So it's very exciting, and we're going to have some great promotion ceremonies here coming up on the 15th. I think SV is first, and then SOC will be afterwards. Then right after that, our full steam ahead summer program will be starting on June 26th. And as Mr. Berkeley said, we are going to be, they're going to be breaking ground on the new middle school that week after we get out of school. Saddleback Valley wanted to wait until our school was out before they started bringing bulldozers in and things. So they have said that they're going to be starting that right on the 19th or the week of the 19th. So we're excited to get that started. And just thank you everyone for another amazing year at OPA. California Distinguished Schools and Schools to Watch and Civic Engagement Awards, and just so many different amazing things going on, as well as bringing back finally fully all of those great things that make OPA so special, with field trips and parent involvement and OPA showcases, and just being able to finally, after several years of not being able to have everything, bring everything back even better than it was in the past. I think, the showcases are a great testament to that, just really building on what we had in the past and making it even better with our capstone projects and STEAM showcases, all of that. So I'm just excited to see what now, crazy to say, but what now next school year is going to bring. I can't believe this school year is actually already coming to an end. It went by extremely fast. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Knan. Any questions for Dr. Knan? Okay, we go to item number 12, director's report. Member Jackson.
I'm good, man, thank you.
Okay, Member Smith.
Congratulations, staff, students, doing another great year. Thank you.
Okay, Member Travis.
So a couple things. I just want to commend the amazing budget that was put together tonight. I want to say it was really incredible and a job very well done. I hardly had any questions, and I was just super impressed with the effort that was put into that. Also, Dr. Henry, the LCAP, to see how far we've come. I mean, I'm just super impressed with where it's gone and all the effort you put in this year. That is no easy feat. You made it look really simplistic here, but I know how much work went into that. So congrats to you. And then I'm very excited about the upcoming summer and the busyness and craziness that's coming up with that. So kudos and thank you in advance, David, for all your hard work that's coming up for that as well. And, we're very excited to end the school year. And then, Amy, we're just really excited to see the school year end and to see such a great program continue to rise. So with that, I will yield my time.
Thank you, Member Travis. I just want to wish everyone a wonderful summer and a great, well-deserved break.
Mine's gonna be a little bit lengthier. Only because this will be my last year as a parent at OPA since 2011. So I've seen quite a bit of change and it's just exciting to be where we are and look forward to compared to where we were. And I know now we've had some tough days and we've had some good days and but I am really happy that I get to do it with all of you guys over the years and I am excited for another year with my board mates and the staff and admin. So thank you.
I thought you said it's gonna be like.
No,
That was a lot.
I wrote the most for you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Item number 13, community input on non-agenda items. Public may comment on items not listed on the agenda that are within the legal purview of the board of directors. Public comments, including email comments, will be limited to 3 minutes per comment, with up to 20 minutes of public comment. Do we have any community input?
We don't.
Okay, at this point in time, the directors will convene back into closed session. For those of you watching, please feel free to leave. There's probably not going to be much action after this. We just didn't get to one of the items of the closed session.
Which time is 8:39?